let you know that after our pageant this morning, we'd like for you to enjoy our Oktoberfest 95, which is happening just within the block, or come back this evening for a lot of good food and entertainment. Just glad that you're here today. We hope that you have a fun time with the pageant. I'd like now to introduce to you our 1995 Chairman of the Board of the Tomball Area Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Mark Stinson.
I'd also like to thank you for helping us celebrate Oktoberfest weekend, bringing your lovely ladies and gentlemen here this morning with us. It is my privilege this morning to introduce the MC of this pageant. This is someone who is very near and dear to me, Diane Holland. Diane Holland knows a little bit about Chamber of Commerce activities. She was the president of the Tomball Area Chamber of Commerce for 22 years. She's produced over 23 Miss Tomball beauty pageants. She's also served as MC of this particular event on numerous occasions. The most thing that strikes me about Diane is her love of people, and most especially her love of children. She raised her 3 children right here in Tomball and Holland.
Always an exciting time. And if I can get this microphone to stay up, I may have to call Mark back. Okay, I won't touch it. The Chamber of Commerce in Tomball is such a vital force in everything that happens in the community. And today is just another example of their involvement and their efforts to make this community a hometown with a heart. The one that we all love to say, we're from Tomball and proud of it. So welcome to you all. And probably some of you parents didn't realize several years ago when your children were born, that are now 3, 4, 5, and 6, that you in fact were helping with the Oktoberfest that would be following in the years to come. So we appreciate your support in that too. This is the 22nd Little Miss and Little Mr. Tomball contest that we've had. And judging from what I'm looking at from standing up here, it is going to be one of the most difficult for our judges. I don't envy them their position this morning. It may be a relief to you judges, and I'll tell you this now while there's not a lot of interference, that customarily after the conclusion of the pageant, we get, so happy right, we have 59 contestants today. That means that we have at least 118 parents and approximately 236 grandparents who already know who the winner is, right? Unfortunately, after it's all over with, there are only going to be 4 parents and 8 grandparents who don't think all 3 of the judges are black. But I want you to remember just one thing. Each and every one of our contestants is beautiful. And that's right. And regardless of how it turns out, each one is God's very, very special gift to you. So I hope that you will protect it and love it and care for it. And don't think that they don't know what's going on this morning. But don't let them leave here thinking that because perhaps they didn't wear the crown, that they're not just as beautiful as anybody else in this world, because they are. I am truly delighted to be here again. After I retired a few years ago, I thought, well, we're
looking for the bus. Down right here. Yeah. Have a seat. Sit down, Guns. Here are the buses coming around. We think it just went to Spencer's. I'm getting anxious. We've been waiting since 12 o'clock. Can't be far now. Here it comes. Oh, Josh. There it comes. Stay right there. Bye, Joshua. See ya. Bye, Forrest. I already did. You didn't want me to embarrass. Oh, they're standing in ants. Probably. No. Bye, Josh. Good night.
What do you think, Josh?
Okay.
Hi, Josh. What about school?
Sure, you take that camera down.
Yeah, I want to get your picture.
Sure, you
Did you
take
have fun?
Yes.
You have a nice teacher?
Take that camera down. You want me to punch that camera?
No, I want you to talk about school.
Well,
I like
take
your big
that
dog
camera
shirt.
down first.
Big dog.
Take my camera down. Take the camera down. I'm very footsie. And the other thing was, I rode on the same old bus with Anthony. And that's Mario was on the bus.
Mary was there?
Yeah, and gosh, it's beautiful outside.
Too wet and rainy.
Hit it, Johnny.
Good evening. A table for two, please.
Hey, good morning. Can't take a picture in front from me.
I don't want you.
This is Cassidy. Her parents, Mike and Valerie Daniels. Old MacDonald. Their sponsors, Daniels Plumbing. And on the spot, he had some chicks. There was everywhere we got chicks. Old MacDonald had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. Old MacDonald had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. And on this farm, he had some ducks. E-I-E-I-O. Thank you, Cassidy. Quack, quack here and a quack, quack there. Here a quack, there a quack. This is Adria. Her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Bruce Jones. Favorite toy? What is your favorite toy, Adria? Old MacDonald had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. Dachshund. Favorite activities is riding horses and singing. Her life ambition is to be a doctor and a teacher. Well, old MacDonald had a farm. E-I-E-I-O. And on this farm he had a dog. E-I-E-I-O. With a bow wow here and a bow wow there. Here a bow, there a wow, everywhere a bow wow. Thank you, Adrian. I need at this time the 7 to 9-year-old girls to please line up. Contestant number 77. This is Joshua. His parents is John and Janelle Locks. Did I get that right? Tell me something, Joshua. What's your favorite toy?
Power Rangers.
Power Rangers, yeah. His favorite pet is his baby ball python named Black Ranger. Oh, okay, snakes, huh? Favorite activities, riding his bike and playing on the computer, playing t-ball. His life ambition, be a brain surgeon. Thank you, Joshua. Todd. His parents, Todd and Renee Williams. What's your favorite toy, man?
Saba.
All right. Turn and look at your mom. There you go. His favorite activities, baseball, getting big.
Brian is the son of William and Cindy Bailey. Jeffrey is the son of Jeff and Nancy Holderson. He's from Tomball. He's 5 years old, and you might like to know he is now in kindergarten. He goes to step-by-step school in Tomball. His favorite color is yellow. He loves spaghetti. He likes to swim and fish. He doesn't have a pet yet, but he hopes to get a dog. When he grows up really big, he wants to be an astronaut. This is Jeffrey May Holderson. Thank you, Jeffrey. Contestant number 5, Robert Monroe Wallace. Robert is the son of John and Cindy Tyson. He's from Hockley. He's 6 years old and goes to Central Baptist Academy. His favorite color is green and he loves lasagna. Now this young man already enjoys playing on a computer. He has a cat named Bootsy, and when he grows up, he's going to be one of our policemen. This is Robert Monroe Wallace. Contestant number 6, Michael Thomas Klopfenstein. Mikey is the son of Judy and Kim Klopfenstein, and he's from Tomball, and he's 3 years old, and he's anxious to get off the stage. Now, he goes to 5 different schools because he goes with his mother to work every day. He likes morning rolls, which are pecan cinnamon spins. He enjoys swimming at Splashdown, and when he grows up, you can tell by his attire, he hopes to be a doctor. That was Michael Thomas Klopfenstein. Contestant number 7, Clint Matthews. Clint is 6 years old. He's from Tomball. He goes to Tomball Elementary. His favorite color is green, and he likes bologna and cheese sandwiches. He's taking karate. Clint, show me a karate. Well, he's gone. He has 2 dogs, one Roscoe, and a cat named Rocket. And when he grows up, he wants to teach karate. This was Clint Matthews, and he is contestant number 7. Contestant number 8, Nolan Wayne Dawson. Nolan is the son of Kim and Mike Dawson, and he's from Magnolia, and he's also 6 years old. He goes to Williams Elementary. He likes the color green, and he likes hamburgers. He likes fishing and riding bikes, has a dog named Elmo, and when he grows up, he wants to be a paramedic. Nolan Wayne Dawson, contestant number 8. Contestant number 9, Joshua Robert Louse. Joshua is the son of John and Janelle Louse, and he's from Tomball, and he's 5 and a half. He goes to Lakewood Elementary. He loves purple.
fell out. Since his mom borrowed my gold pants and she sent them back to school with his picture, which I told her would be fine, and Josh dropped them out of the bag. All my gold pants. He loves me.
I'll play all I'll play all
That's okay. No problem. I'm asking you to prevent that from happening again. I'll just take that off for now like that. Breathe.
Mom, guys give me a number that will stop.
700 plus 600.
700 plus 600 is mine. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Coming up with the answer, Dad.
Something.
1400.
7 plus 6. And again. 700. 800.
No, wait.
Yeah, mixed up. Yeah. Stop in the middle. Spider web something.
1300.
That's exactly right, Doc. Yeah, doctors are smart, all right.
Try to give me another one.
They're gonna get worn out. They're gonna have big holes in them.
Try to give me another one.
Max. Ich liebe dich.
You know, there's just something good in the water out here in Tomball that meets all these beautiful kids, don't you think so? Judges, are you ready? All right, thank you. Let's give those boys another big hand. Girls, wave at mommy and daddy if you see them. If you see them out in the audience, find them and wave at them. They can wait on me.
Hey, Chase. He put it. Come here. He put it. He put it.
Gives me great pleasure to introduce our reigning 19 Little Miss and Little Mr. Tomball. It's Ashley Scolau and Mr. Marcus Milligan. You all come up and take your last walk across the stage. Tomball to Waller. 1996 is Garrett Burdick. I tell you what, he certainly does look like a Mr. Tomball to me. Well, Garrett, now we're going to Garrett, I'm over here. Now we're going to just stay there. We're going to announce who your partner's going to be this year, okay? Second runner-up for Little Miss Tomball is contestant number 21, Ashley Elizabeth Whitaker. First runner-up for Little Miss Tomball, contestant number 37, Ginger Regan. All right, Garrett, this is the moment we've been waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, Little Miss Tomball for 1996 is Cassidy Daniels.
Hey, Krista. I got a picture of you. Oh, my date and timer thing doesn't work anymore. I feel my boyfriend. I don't use my batteries anymore. I have these plugged into the wall. Here, let me get a better picture. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Kelly. Well, thanks for bringing. Good to see you. And hi. 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 Had dinner. Don't want that. Oh no.
celebrating the biggie anniversary, number 50. This wonderful couple, it's hard to describe. One word comes to mind, it's nifty. The progeny produced by this marvelous couple is talented, handsome, industrious, and kind. The children, their spouses, grandchildren, and great-grands. On top of all that, each has a sharp mind. Their houses, there were many, were filled with joy, lots of activity with all on the run. They each had a great sense of humor, though different. So laughter and love filled the air with the fun. When St. Peter calls them to his pearly gates, there's a question they'll ask him when they appear. Why did you call? We were having a ball. And he'll say, we needed some humor up here. I wrote this about, well, there are a lot of people who don't remember their anniversaries. I don't know if there's anybody in the room here that has a little problem, but sometimes when you've been married a long time, it sort of names you exactly what day it is. So I call this one, what day is today? At breakfast, the woman asked her husband, do you know what day this is, my dear? He squirmed and said, of course I do. You don't think I'd forget such a date this year. He seldom remembered their anniversary and immediately knew, oh, I've done it again. When he went to his office, he ordered red roses to be sent to their home, bought chocolates, and then he went to the jeweler, selected a brooch. Next he phoned her, please meet me for dinner tonight. He ordered champagne at their favorite restaurant. They toasted each other in warm candlelight. She was ecstatic and thrilled to her toes. Flowers, chocolates, jewelry, happy life. After champagne and dinner, she sighed and then said, today is the best Groundhog Day of my life. Don't fall for it. This is called 50 Years of Wedded Bliss. So you've been married for 50 years. Do you have a secret sublime? A recipe making a marriage last? Yes, 3 little words that I say all the time. How sweet, the reporter gushed. Do you tell her I love you in prose or in song? No, the words that I repeat every day of my life are those she wants to hear. I was wrong. This one is about our father. We had the greatest dad in the world. Nifty, freebie, gifty. I don't think I've ever been jealous, but I did come close at times because my high school friends had dads who brought home samples from all their lines. One salesman father gave my friend 3 brand new pairs of shoes. A candy store owner gave another boxes of chocolates and caramel chews. One papa sold books, and so he took home stacks of gems for my friend to read. Another papa owned a bicycle shop, so he gave my friend a philosophy. But woe was I, my dear old guy was a lawyer, though really nice. Instead of shoes, candy, books, and toys, all I got was free advice. I call this raw humor or a little yoke. Sorry about that. During the Depression, my father, a lawyer, was paid fairly often with food, produce like apples, potatoes, and corn, and chicken, both uncooked and stewed. A farmer was chuckling one day when he came, and my mother said, oh, what's funny? He said he had just been next door to deliver. His loud laughter made his nose runny. The neighbor had asked, what's the price of your eggs? I'm making an angel food cake for my cousin. The large ones are 40, the cracked 25. But then she smiled and said, crack me a dozen. And this is about our grandfather who used to pour the salt on his food like you would not believe. I call it a salty old guy. My grandfather always salted his food before he even tasted it. He shook the shaker vigorously and scorned those who used just a little bit. He had a pat answer for the living who'd say, you shouldn't use so much salt. me not to use so much salt. I've buried 3 doctors that told me that. Now this I wrote. I like that. You told me, oh, they make it butter. You told me a story about Abby Lane that's just stuck in my noggin, and this summer I wrote a poem about it. Something you can't imagine what this. Well, you told me about how you had lectured Carol and Krista on crossing the street to get home, and what happened. So I wrote a story about that, and I called it Street Smart. My sister-in-law drilled their 2 young girls on how to cross the road after school. She told them to wait for a car to pass before crossing into these streets. That was the rule. One day they were late. She was worried sick, so she went looking for them, really peeved. When she saw both just standing by the side of the road, she was both annoyed and relieved. You're late. I was worried. You're just standing there. You should have been home by 3. I couldn't imagine what happened to you. I've been frantic, don't you see? When they answered, she knew she had drilled them too hard and wrong, though about to explode. We'd been waiting so long for a car to pass so we could cross the road. That really made an impression on me. I wrote this one about our daughter Jill, who loves to go on my husband's yacht. I call it the maybe or maybe not yacht. Our grandchildren love to be given a ride on what I call grandpapa's yacht. It's a 14-foot runabout that runs about half the time and gets towed back more often than not. Our daughter loves going for a ride in the boat. She says, for excitement, Pop sure adds the knack. You meet such nice people when you go with him because you never know who'll tow you back. This is one about Mother's very own day, but it wouldn't happen in this family. I know, this is for another family. After a big family Mother's Day dinner, Mom started to scrub lots of corning. Said to children, it's your day. You shouldn't wash dishes. Just rinse and do them in the morning. This is called Sudden Makeover. I need a new gown. I must go to town, and while I am there, I'll see to my hair. I should get a cut, at least a new style, because soon I'll see friends I have missed for a while. I must get a facial, an eyebrows pluck, a manicure and girdle to keep my waist tight. I'll buy sexy shoes with heels quite high and a stole that will promise to catch every eye. Better get my teeth whitened. I may have a date. Oh, I've got to lose weight. I'm sorry I ate. Why are you torturing yourself? Please speak. I'm going to my high school reunion next week. I call this the sad time of life. You people are all too young for this one. But think about your grandparents and your great-grandparents. Said a pastor to a 90-year member, it's now time that you heed the hereafter. Oh, Reverend, I do every day, many times. When I enter a room, I say, what am I hereafter? You haven't come to that yet, have you? This was a true story that happened to my neighbor friend, and she told it on herself. Times change, and so do people. Her 6-year-old grandchild was visiting my friend when she noticed a photo on the bedroom chest. Who is that beautiful lady, she said. She looks like a movie star, one of the best. Oh, that picture was taken a long time ago when I was in college, far, far away, a long time ago. The child was speechless, her mouth open wide. That picture was you, Ian? You really think so? She looked at the photo, then back to her grandma. She scrutinized both finally asked, "What happened and when?" This is called exercising with Grandma. This is probably too young. Wrong one for you because you're all too young. You don't know about this. A grandma had scolded a naughty grandchild who was watching her doing some knee bends. She suggested he try doing them with her that day so they did them together just to make amends. He tried hard to copy, so was so displeased. She said, "You are bending like I am, it's true." He said, "No, Gran, I'm not. I'm trying so hard, but I can't make that cracking sound like you did." I'll just do this and I'll wind up. I've got lots of options. Said a broker who tried to sell stocks to a 90-year-old named Rana. 10-year bonds will make money. She said, "Listen, Sonny, I don't even buy green bananas."
You're survivors. Consider the changes these people have witnessed. They were born before television, before penicillin, before polio shots, frozen foods, Xerox, plastic, contact lenses, Frisbees, and the pill. They were before radars, credit cards, split atoms, laser beams, and ballpoint pens. Before pantyhose, dishwashers, clothes dryers, electric blankets, air conditioners, drip dry clothes, and before man walked on the moon. They got married first and then lived together, out winking. In their time, they put closets for clothes they were not for coming out of. Bunnies were small rabbits, and rabbits were not Volkswagens. Designer jeans were scheming girls named Jean, and having a meaningful relationship and getting along with her cousins. They thought fast food was what you ate during Lent, and outer space was the back of the Riviera Theater. Outer space. They came before house husbands, gay rights, computer dating, dual careers, and commuter marriages. They were before daycare centers, group therapy, and nursing homes. They never heard of FM radios, tape decks, electronic typewriters, artificial hearts, word processors, yogurt, and guys wearing earrings. For them, time-sharing meant togetherness, not computers or condominiums. The chip meant a piece of wood. Hardware meant hardware, and software wasn't even a word. Back then, made in Japan meant junk, and the term making out referred to how you did on your exam. It's like watching this whole... Pizzas, McDonald's, and instant coffees were unheard of. They hit the scene where there were 5 and 10 cent stores where you bought things for 5 and 10 cents. Sanders or Wilson sold ice cream cones for a nickel or a dime. For 1 nickel, you could ride a streetcar, make a phone call, buy a Pepsi or enough stamps to mail 1 letter and 2 postcards. You could buy a new Chevy Coupe for $600, if you could afford one. A pity, too, because gas was 11 cents a gallon. In their day, grass was mowed, Coke was a cold drink, and hot was something you cooked in. Rock music was a grandma's lullaby, and aides were helpers in the principal's office. They were certainly not before the difference between the sexes was discovered, but they were surely before the sex change. They made do with what they had, and they were the last generation that was so dumb as to think you needed a husband to have a baby. No wonder we are so sincere, and there is such a generation gone today. But they survived, and what better reason to celebrate? That's even worse than I realized. The worst part is, Carol, you also included me. That's what I thought.
My bad.
In hand? Yes. She seems younger. I can't hide that. Don't say Dave.
Will you guys make a copy of that?
He doesn't mind.
Will you guys like turn around or something?
Look that way.
Grandpa speaking.
Rampy?
No peeking?
Speaking. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely nothing.
Oh, yeah, they bring in a crocodile. Take a nap. Tell him to shut his eyes and he'll be gone. Where's Chris?
Can I look?
No peeking.
Just a minute. What I'd like to share with you is kind of a history of Mom and Dad's 50 years together. And I tried to do this, you know, now. Yeah, hold on. Yeah. Oh, no. Just a minute.
Is it alive?
Want to go outside? Okay. Now can I look?
Okay, now you can look.
Okay, before I start, I'd just like to let you know that I tried to focus on things that were their lives. And so if I left someone out, it's not because you weren't a short part of their lives. I was trying to make it short enough to... In 1945, near the end of World War II, a handsome 21-year-old flight instructor found himself stationed at Bunker Hill Naval Air Station, just outside Peru, Indiana. At the Roxy Theater one night, he met a buxom 17-year-old usherette, Elaine James.
And boy, has he let us know about the buxom part. Oh, did she look good in that sweater, he'd say.
That's right. Recently graduated from high school, she was heading for Purdue University in the fall. After a short courtship, Bill proposed marriage. She agreed and not reluctantly dropped out of college, eager to begin life as a wife and mother. To her surprise, her father consented readily to the marriage. He seemed to recognize Bill's intelligence and strong work ethic and found him a suitable match for his daughter. Bill, for his part, knew that his future bride had bad teeth, but he was attracted to her good looks.
And my mother cried for a week. She married her anyway.
Stable family background and outgoing, loving nature. Off the couple went to Watertown, South Dakota to await the start of winter term at UCLA, then headed for California. Crossing the country in the winter, pulling a 14-foot trailer with a 35 Plymouth with drop knob. They were careful not to exceed 40 miles per hour. The trip took 6 days. Bill attended classes and Elaine took up housekeeping in the trailer. Keeping even this small floor clean seemed a challenge to the young bride. She rewarded herself by walking to the ice cream stand for a coney shot
Every day for 5 cents.
On a visit back in Peru, Bill's father-in-law, Carl, discussed his plans to start a dairy and suggested that Bill manage it. When Bill protested that he knew nothing about running a dairy, Carl said, "Well, you can learn, can't you?" Bill decided he probably could. So he moved his wife back to Peru and began visiting neighboring dairies, asking lots of questions and learning as he went along. The business was soon underway. There were 5 other dairies in the area at the time. Within a year, Bill and Carl's was the second largest. They had begun expanding the business when a tragic setback occurred. A careless worker left a tank of hot asphalt in the new cooler and burned the facility to the ground. Soon they rebuilt. A partnership was formed, with Mr. Parsons helping with milk deliveries and Bill running a custard stand. Bill and Elaine began life together in Peru in the Wilno Apartments on the top floor.
We opened all the roads, rivers ran. Oh, they did. There were so many roaches in that apartment building, you could, I've never seen that many in Florida.
Really?
Really. Oh, everywhere. And every 5-year-old can remember them. Quite a few. I mean, you open, like in the morning, you'd open a kitchen car door and whoosh,
Build the kitchen.
they just run. It was awful.
Oh, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
After 2 years of marriage, their first daughter, Carol Elaine, came into the world. A beautiful baby with dark curls and brown eyes, it
soon became apparent that she would have to deal with allergies in life. She developed a severe case of eczema and later asthma. When Krista Joan came along 18 months later, they moved to a duplex on North Fremont Street. Although Krista weighed over 7 pounds at birth, she seemed tiny to Elaine. It was weeks before she took over the babying duty from her mother, Georgia. Elaine's mother and family were a tremendous source of support for the young mother. Bill loved his
We stayed
daughters.
at Mother's a month and a half after you were born, and we stayed at Mother's a month before Carol was born.
No wonder I remember those births. Well, she was only
No, I had to get away from the roaches in the first place. And then when Krista came, Carol weighed 9 pounds, and Krista was only 7. So I was sure she'd break. I just was afraid to take care of her.
Bill loved his daughters, but he worried he would never have a son to carry on the Laux name. Then 2.5 years later, he was overjoyed when little blonde William Daniel was born. By then, the family needed more room and moved to 263 West Main Street. A 2-story brick home with a front porch and a coal bin in the basement, the house had beautiful hardwood floors, a formal dining room, and a large playroom for the children's many toys. By the time Billy was born, Georgia was busy with her own baby, Johnny, who had been born just 3 months before. The children played together a great deal and came to treat each other more as siblings than as an uncle with nieces and nephews. By this time, Bill was heavily into jazz piano playing. He had gone to the Cleveland Clinic because he felt terrible and was told he had a classic case of overworked businessman syndrome. He needed a hobby. His old piano was kept on the back porch on Fremont Street, then in the basement on West Main. He spent hours down there, with wet laundry hanging over his head as he practiced. He also played vibes, trumpet, violin, bass. He could play nearly any instrument except woodwinds. He took 5 lessons, then taught himself, and within 6 months had begun playing band jobs to earn extra money and as a creative outlet. This caused friction between him and Elaine, who resented the playing, especially on Sundays. At one point, she got so mad she busted the violin over his head.
Oh, you had to put that in.
I left out
Did you
worse.
put the rest of it?
And then he picked up a mirror and
No, the rest of it was
He rubbed
busted
the other
anyway,
half.
so I took it, finished it off over.
He had me back.
We pulverized that time.
And then the parts laid on the floor for a while. Oh, I had extenuating circumstances.
I remembered that too. I was probably 3 years old.
Really?
Right, I was only about 5. We witnessed it.
We were there.
Really? Traumatized together. Well, did you remember I was taking care of the Clark?
Okay, now it's time to go.
that definitely contributed. Definitely.
One day, as Bill was working at the custard stand, 4 Mormon missionaries drove up. Bill saw their black suits and asked, "What are you guys, preachers or gangsters?" Feeling that the church might offer some answers to his problems, he invited them over for discussions. Elaine was not interested and planned an evening at the movies, but they arrived before she had left. Before long, they both joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This was to have far-reaching influence on their lives and the lives of their children. They traveled to Salt Lake City with their 3 children to be sealed for time and eternity in the Mormon temple. Back home again in Peru, Aunt Sue would babysit the kids so Bill and Elaine could go to sacrament meeting. The kids would watch Ed Sullivan's show on TV, A New Marvelous Invention. Remember that?
Sure do. And the barbecues and the ice cream. I got free supper every Sunday night. Never had a date on Sunday night after they moved away from the room.
Oh, that's so
That was fine.
That's so cute.
My dad didn't approve of television or didn't think he wanted it, so he didn't buy it. And I was 16 when he bought it. So Sue would come in and babysit.
He was a smart guy.
Watch the TV. He really was. But once he got it, he watched a lot of television before he died.
Well, you figure when I was 4 and they joined the church, you were 11. And there were 3 of us, 4 and under, new baby. And you were fully responsible for all 3 of us.
Absolutely.
at least once
How
a
old were
week.
you?
11.
Wish I had a babysitter when I go to church. Man, life would be different.
We had a night there.
I can't even imagine that.
Our meeting on Sunday was at 7 o'clock at night. I mean, we had meetings in the morning also, but church itself was at 7 o'clock at night. And so rather than take the kids, which I couldn't imagine any reason for doing.
But that's 2 years older than Amy and all of Summer's kids.
Yeah.
I stayed with you.
She's anxious to babysit. She'll come
7. Yeah.
Last time I stayed with you.
My babysitter's
Well,
12.
I was just born then.
You were 7.
You were really little.
I love to babysit.
All 7.
For money.
Money.
Entrepreneur.
Another son, Robert Carl, joined the family in July of 1953. Now Bill felt confident the loud saying would endure. Elaine was well on her way to becoming the Italian mama she envisioned herself surrounded by her children. Bill was pretty overwhelmed by it all, but continued working hard at the dairy. Then Bernie the baseman, who was also a psychologist at the state mental institution, gave Bill an aptitude test. He suggested that his obsessive-compulsive tendencies might suit him to work on these new giant brains as a computer programmer. Bill pursued the idea and met Dr. John Mockley, one of the inventors of the ENIAC computer, who was conducting a seminar at Purdue. Because of his business experience, he was hired to become a programmer for Remington Rand Univac. This meant a move to Philadelphia, which seemed to Elaine like the end of the earth. How could she leave her hometown and parents? Carl warned her that her husband was getting into research, so he would never make much money. Computers were too new and experimental for anyone to imagine the impact they would have on society. The kids were enticed with stories of the ocean, the Empire State Building, and chances to visit the White House.
And the subway. If we go to Philadelphia, you can all ride the subway.
You were kind of annoyed, as I recall, that he was making it seem
Yes.
like a neat thing
You
to
can
do.
even remember that. Oh, my kids.
And the mountains.
Yeah, the mountains. We probably went once.
The ones in western Pennsylvania that we drive to the mountains.
Oh, really?
That's right.
Soon a large three-story stone house with a slate roof was purchased in Elkins Park, a Jewish neighborhood across the street from the Reading Railroad commute line. The house had a pantry, sliding doors which opened from the huge living room into the den, and a hole in the dining room floor where a buzzer once summoned the servants. On the third floor was a clawfoot tub and 2 huge rooms for storage. The kids held clubs there and sneak peeks at their Christmas presents. The huge yard was a challenge to mow that first year with a push mower. The hedges seemed endless to Bill when they needed trimming. But the trees were beautiful, especially when the enormous pink blossoms of the magnolia tree were in bloom. Elaine was busy raising the children and driving back and forth several times per year to visit her mother. The trip over the turnpike went through 7 tunnels in the Allegheny Mountains. The kids looked forward to the sucker shop in Van Wert on the Indiana-Ohio border. It's a great big sucker.
Over the turnpike and
Through Ohio to grandmother's house we go. We slip and slide and turn and glide, but onward we must go. Over the turnpike through Ohio to grandmother's house we go.
The trip is
Rough and things are tough, but onward we must go. All right. In 1958, John Richard joined the family. Never was there a more adored baby. When he finally got his first haircut at age 2, the barber thought he was to trim the curls on a cute little girl. Cut it off, he's a boy. Carol and Krista cried when they saw the transformation. Bobby expressed his feelings about Johnny by saying, "You know why I like him? Because of the face he's got on him." After 4 years in Pennsylvania, Bill received an assignment in Livermore, California, working at Lawrence Radiation Labs, testing the software they'd written for the LARC computer. The whole family lived in a 2-bedroom upstairs apartment for 4.5 months. Although it was cramped, they had such a good time there, it convinced Elaine they really didn't need such a huge house. Bill interviewed for a job with the Mormon Church in Salt Lake City on the return trip and was hired as their first systems analyst. This would mean a large pay cut, but the couple hoped Salt Lake City would be a good environment in which to raise their family. They bought a 1-story flat-roofed house, which Elaine dubbed the cow shed.
I thought it was a chicken coop.
The 2 It had a full furnished basement, however, and bedrooms were created in the end of the den and even in the downstairs hallway for a while. Bill was thrilled with the low maintenance and the 4.5% mortgage. The kids thought the sprinkling system looked just like the White House. Bill began working in February of 1961 to help computerize the genealogy department of the LDS Church. After a year and a half, however, he left to work for Sperry, Utah, which later became Sperry Univac and then Unisys. In 1966, when she was attending the University of Utah and was preparing to do other things, Elaine found that a sixth child, Susan Marguerite, was on the way. Susie soon became the pet of the entire family and was the most photographed child of all time. Bill and Elaine joked that they had raised 5 kids and this one would just have to raise herself.
I had a camera. What we said was she was spoiled. Bill always said, well, she's our pet. We can spoil her if we want to.
1 month after Susie's birth, Carol married Charles Knack and they set up housekeeping there in Salt Lake City. The following year, little Charlie came along, Elaine's first grandchild. Like her mother, Elaine found herself with a new baby and a new grandbaby at the same time. After about 7 years in Salt Lake City, Bill was transferred to Minnesota just outside of Minneapolis. What a caravan drove across the country. Younger Bill's Jeep, a Simca, Bill's MG, a family car, a boat, 6 kids, including Carol, who was pregnant with her second child, and assorted pets.
The neighbors said they were shocked.
Krista, who was soon to begin her second year at BYU, Carol, and baby Charlie drove out in the little Simca. Once, Carol, who was driving, turned around to calm the fussy baby, drove off the road and hit a marker post. Fortunately, except for a dent in the front of the car, no one was injured. Stephanie was born just a few days after Carol returned to Utah. Very expensive,
wasn't it? 2 days?
I think the airplane had something to do with it.
She flew home and the baby.
I started into labor because of that, yeah.
Part of the motivation for moving to Burnsville was the desire to live closer to Bill's parents, who were getting older and still lived in Bill's hometown, Watertown, South Dakota. They were able to visit DK and Francis fairly often during the 3 years they spent in Minnesota. Younger Bill was in his last year of high school, a difficult time for a move for him. Bob had a better situation since he had spent all 3 years of high school there. He was elected student body president his senior year and was a wild and crazy guy, a real trendsetter in the fuzzy pants Elaine made for him. He looks like a wild, crazy guy. Sitting there half dead. In November of 1970, the same day Bill and Elaine put Bill on the plane to California, put Bill on the plane to California on mission, Bill returned to work to find a pink slip on his desk. He was given 8 weeks to relocate. At the time, this was a real blow. One good thing that came out of it, however, was that Bill finally saw an opportunity to give up smoking. In the past, he worried that if he quit smoking, he'd feel so awful he wouldn't be able to do his work. Now, since he was going to be there for 8 weeks no matter what, he decided to do himself a favor and quit cold turkey, which he did successfully. NASA came through before the 8 weeks had elapsed and offered him a job in Houston, Texas. Naturally, he was relieved. While Bill worked in Houston under contract to NASA, Elaine stayed in Minnesota with Bob, John, and Susie to allow the children to finish out the school year. Maybe I'll skip this one. Let's see. Then when... Okay, this was a dark period in the marriage. Elaine was very unhappy with the way things were going and was ready to call it quits. Ironically...
What was this? Which time?
Well, this isn't all funny, you know. 50 years isn't all funny. Ironically, Bill, who had always been the more discontented one, came to realize 50 years isn't awesome. I'm in trouble.
That is funny.
Ironically, Bill, who had always been the more discontented one, came to realize as never before that he wanted and needed his family. He had not enjoyed living alone for several months. It is probably due to the fact that she zigged when he zagged that the marriage survived.
I don't know if it helped or hindered.
After Bob's Bill's graduation, the family moved to Seabrook on Clear Lake, just across the fence from NASA. Bill was involved with the Skylab space station programming on the Hazeltine monitors in the Houston Space Center. Bob left for college and a mission to Japan, so John and Susie were the only kids left. Elaine had more freedom than she had had in many years and enjoyed life in Houston. The small-town Indiana girl had come a long way and enjoyed the malls and the big city life. When Bill's job began winding down after only 2 years, he was recruited to work for Ohio Bell in Akron, Ohio. Bill was anxious to get a job in the private sector where funding cuts were a continual theme. Also, he and Elaine wanted to live closer to Georgia and Carl since they were getting older. Carl passed away in 1975, just a few short years later, so it turned out to have been a good time to have made the move. However, Elaine was extremely reluctant to leave Texas. John was also upset by the upcoming move to Ohio, as he was set to be the first graduating class of a new high school, complete with boat docks, huge football fields, and a concert grand piano in the choir halls. The choir was even planning a trip to Vienna. He chose to move to Ohio with Dad and Bob, where they lived forever, as John remembers it, in a one-bedroom apartment along a busy highway. Elaine remained in Houston with Susie, trying to sell the house. Bill had frequent band jobs with son Bob, which left John home alone and lonely. After a house was purchased in Heather Hills, however, Bill took John nearly every day to the building site to see the new house being constructed. They enjoyed watching it go up. The home in Stowe, Ohio was spacious and new. On a cul-de-sac lot, the backyard was a wooded hill with a stream at the bottom. Raccoons frequently came up to the deck son Bill built for them, leaving a tree growing through the center. Bob later replaced and improved the deck. They enjoyed various pets, including a Samoyed named Sammy, a cat named Nekajun. Susie and John finished high school there in Stowe. John excelled in the choir and performed at the Goodyear Community Playhouse. He was Susan's hero during those years, as he was their only sibling at home. Susan began singing with her father, she says in nightclubs, he says in restaurants and at weddings, and enjoyed music throughout those years.
I never played in any nightclub.
John earned money for college performing at Geauga Lake in the summers. Is that true? Yeah. Unfortunately, the schools were not all they should or could have been. Gangs of girls threatened Susan's life daily at school, making life miserable for her. The family lived in Ohio from 1972 until Bill took an early retirement at the end of 1981. This gave him half salary for 4 years, and combined with several other sources of income, they were in good financial shape. Bill got a 1-year contract with Goodyear Aerospace in Akron, working 24 hours a week. The pay was good and things looked rosy, according to Bill. Then it all fell apart. There were health problems, financial problems, family stresses, and instabilities. There was a drought, which affected some farm income they had had, a recession, which made it difficult to find consulting work. Other factors combined to leave them deeply in debt. In 1982, Susan and some friends were involved in a serious car accident. One friend's neck was broken, and Susan had 135 stitches on her face, back, and shoulder. Bill and Elaine lost a brand new car and had to pay for a $2,000 telephone pole, but they were relieved and grateful that Susan was alive. That same year, Elaine suffered a mild stroke called a TIA and later had to have a total hysterectomy. Bill suffered deeply with more bouts of depression. One bright spot was their new dog Chubby, who became a good friend to the family. Well, that makes up for it. Going back to work at Ohio Bell in 1985 helped Bill to pay off their debts. In 1987, Bill got a call about a consulting job in Miami, Florida, working for the Carnival Cruise Lines. This sounded like fun to Elaine, so they hired on to work for Daytronics, which found him full-time temporary work for the next several years. After 8 months in Florida, they went to King of Prussia, Pennsylvania for 6 months to work at the world headquarters of Security
Shopping mall in the United States.
Let's
go.
King of Prussia?
Let's go.
King of Prussia? Oh, shopping.
Charter plane. Oh, God.
It was, Janelle, you're the only one I've ever known to go on vacation to go to a mall.
I would.
I thought you did.
It's nicer than the All-America Mall, is it not?
I haven't been to America.
Oh, haven't you? I thought you went there.
I like Chapel Hill. That was a great mall.
Our Chapel Hill. We talk about something else. Go ahead.
Oh, jeez.
Gosh, you know, I should put that in there.
Yeah.
And in Houston, they found the
Galleria Mall. Alameda Mall. Clear Lake City Mall.
Cottonwood Mall.
You know how we picked this developer in which to move? We just found the mall and headed north until the road ended. And that's where we
And if you turn the other way, you're under the ocean. Well, when you think about it, you know, I told about where all the places Dad worked, so I should have told about all the places you worked. You didn't
Shop.
interview me.
No, not where she shopped.
That's her work.
She played general. She'd go in there.
All the grocery stores. Azios. Bisson's.
Not only did she buy one, but she bought two and everything.
That's hard work.
Lawson's.
It is hard. It is hard work.
Shopping is work. I'm sorry, shopping is work.
Shopping is hard work.
And it takes talent, experience, and technique.
I said I was the procure.
That's for sure.
That was the wrong word.
Oh, yes.
The hunter and gatherer. Yeah. That's good. If you want to go back, that's
Don't get on that ferry.
Go ahead. Where am I? I got what?
This is a riot. I want 6 copies of that.
The next assignment was in Iowa, so they loaded up a rented moving van and headed through the mountains of Pennsylvania. Elaine was driving the car behind Bill when she noticed smoke pouring out of her rear wheel. The van caught fire and destroyed most of their possessions. Then, to make matters worse, they were only in Iowa for 3 weeks when Bill was laid off. Fortunately, they were reassigned to Kellogg's in Battle Creek, Michigan, where they lived for the next 5 years. Part of that time was spent in an A-frame on Graham Lake. Elaine called it our little jewel. I thought, I wish you were this cool. Finally, on January 30th, 1993, Bill retired for good, and the couple moved to Ormond Beach, Florida. Bill was in his 70th year and more than ready for a rest. Elaine wasn't ready to sit in a rocker somewhere, but she loves Florida as much as he does. They're currently living there with Chi-Chi their parrot and their beloved Shih Tzu Sunny, who followed Bandit. Elaine loves to visit her 6 children, 24 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren. Bill bought an electronic piano which closely approximates the Steinway. They both enjoy the weather and the beauty of the area. Elaine has established homes many times over the years. She is a nurturing person who has helped her grown children whenever they needed her. She has been attentive to her beloved aged mother. She has babysat, oh, I can't believe this. She has babysat young grandchildren for days or weeks when the need arose. Bob's sons, Graham and Justin, have spent a great deal of time with their grandparents, and they have become especially close. Elaine has always been willing to cook the large special meals that draw families together. Although her career isn't one with many distinguishable highlights, she's the one who is largely responsible for raising the children, keeping the family together, and now that they are older, informed of each other's news. And we love you.
Oh, I love you too, Paula. It's my life.
Oh dear. One more turn. Life together has brought Bill and Elaine joy, pain, heartache, and many changes. Life has sometimes been difficult, but rewarding in many ways. There has never been a dull moment. That much can certainly be said for the union between these 2 very different and wonderful people. From all of your children and grandchildren, thank you for inviting us along on this journey. Was gathering Dad's career information and the things he'd done, and because I already felt like I knew pretty much what you had done, and I thought, I hope Mom doesn't think this is just about Dad's career, you know, because it's your whole life together. And
It came out that way.
but I was there, more involved in what you were doing, so I kind of knew, you know. But I wanted to get the dates and the, you know, that kind of information from Dad because I knew you wouldn't.
I'll do a tribute. Mine will be a little longer than Krista's. I'm tired, but I thought I'd start off with a little reminiscing too. And maybe they'll remember the poem Dandelion, and I'll tell that.
Ding dong, ding dong, ding. We're almost there, we're almost there, we're almost there to Grandma's. Ding dong, ding dong, ding.
Now you can go ahead.
Okay, Dandelion. And this is my poem that I told in family home evening, week after week after week. Age 5 to 8, I think. You had to have a talent. This was my talent. It's still my talent.
Fresh 2.5-minute talk that you gave in front of the whole church.
Oh, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
That's what
That was my first 2.5-minute talk too. I think it was Bobby's too.
Am I?
I think we all probably recited together.
Well, it's so important. Maybe we should. Dandelion. Just yesterday your hair was gold, but now you look so very old. What happened to you during the night? Did something give you quite a fright? Dandelion. Well, it's not
Actually, very spiritual. The way
There's a something, there's a deeper meaning, and if you don't get it, that's your problem.
I did too.
We can't help you.
Well, actually, the way he said it was, what happened to you during the night?
During the night.
During the night.
Well, I thought with the 50th anniversary, it'd be nice to find the golden anniversary, a golden dandelion. But I couldn't find it. But we did give you a paperweight with a full-blown dandelion head inside of it. It's kind of Anyway, maybe I'll just take a minute and read to you these letters. This was just a little different way of reviewing things and showing my appreciation for you. This was to Mom. It says, it all started 44 years ago on a cool autumn day in September when you had a baby boy, your first son, Snowball.
Oh, yes, I forgot the snowball.
Thanks for changing the name, though, and the diapers.
He was cute too.
As William Daniel Louch sounds a bit more dignified. I say it all started then, but that was for me. It all started for you and Dad years before, and now we celebrate your 50th wedding anniversary. A lot has happened during those years, and I must congratulate you first for simply having made it. We're all aware that at times it wasn't easy. But a lot has to be said. 6 kids is a formidable task, but you handled it well and even seem to enjoy it most of the time. I remember the long trips we took together, whether it was to Beaver Dam Lake, the World's Fair in '64, or to Grandma Jenkins' house each year. Sometimes Dad couldn't go, but we always had summer vacations together. I don't know why I'm emotional. We're all friends, right? It's okay.
We're better than that. We're family.
Okay.
Who's gonna tell?
We always had summer vacation together, and as I've gotten older, it really impressed me with how strong you were and fearless. You were a great example of a caring, loving mother, and even during the few times when we had our differences, I never doubted your love for me. The encouragement you gave me growing up, and every constant praise for the things that I did strengthened me and still sticks with me to this day. And I know I was challenged to be better in an effort to please you and Dad. That approval means a lot to me, and it still does. So thank you for your kindness and generosity. You've always given us nice presents for our birthdays.
and for our kids and Christmas, and that's continued on. I don't know anyone with a kind of heart, and I've always thought that moms were just that way. I've come to find out that's not necessarily true. Many things I took for granted growing up were actually because you were a special person and love us. Thank you for raising me in the gospel and encouraging me in those areas, although the gospel has been a strength and comfort and a blessing far greater than you can imagine. Happy anniversary, Mom. I love you and hope that you have many more anniversaries and enjoy the retirement years you deserve. It's too bad that we live so far apart, but we enjoy your visits. This is all day. I wish I could talk. Once you get started, it's hard to stop, you know. But anyway, we enjoy your visits each year, and once you know, you're always more than welcome at our home. Okay, is there anything to drink here? You've accomplished a wonderful thing in that, and I admire you for it. I vaguely remember when you were shopping for DK and Francis on their golden wedding anniversary. In your discussions with Marguerite at the time, and it stuck with me as something very important in a person's life. I hope I'll be able to follow in your footsteps and have a picnic myself. I'm sure my kids will remember our efforts to honor you at this time. You've done a wonderful thing in raising such a large family and have set a good example for me in many ways. Your consistency and punctuality in going to work every day while I was growing up set a good example for me. I rarely remember you being sick and staying home, and even rarer was the time when you slept in or just took the day off for fun. Thank you for the great example as a provider and leader in the family. I remember going fishing with you. We didn't often, so when we did, it made a big impact. But I remember,
Oh, you ever did?
I did, and I can remember the smell of the peat that the worms were in. Funny little things like that. But, and we went on fathers and sons outings. Once we went near the Gilcamora and the Susquehanna River where the sacred grove is. Some older boys were playing catch with an egg at the time. It's kind of an interesting humorous story. Anyway, they claimed they couldn't break this egg, and they dropped it several times and it didn't break. I swore that I could break it, but only after several denials did they finally let me even try. Secretly, they switched the plastic egg for a real one. Being an unusually strong boy of about age 10 or so, I proceeded to easily crush the fresh egg between my hands, and it literally exploded all over me. My hands, my pants, everything. To the uproarious laughter of the I was humiliated at having been suckered in. It was great. They were doing things like that through this whole thing. Putting buckets of water over the doors in the cabins, and when people open them, it was quite a trip. But anyway, I was imprinted with good feelings about that and about the gospel at that time because it was a special event in my life. I remember your love and respect for animals and your kindness toward them. That's affected me in many ways, and I thank you for that. Dad, I appreciate your example, and even in the gospel, and even though sometimes we're better than others, you encouraged me and respected me, trying to do what I thought was right. Okay. Yeah. I'm sure that playing in the band with you tested your patience at times. I think I probably felt more insecure about that than you did. But we always had a lot of fun. Remember the time our family was on TV?
Yeah.
It was like 2 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. For a Martin's Telegrammers. I remember that.
Salt Lake City was
Eugene
telephone.
last night talent showcase or something like that. Anyway, Kristen Carroll sang and I played the bass, Bob played the drums.
And Dad would say, oh, they really wanted us to do some more, but they couldn't because they... And I was thinking, they wouldn't want us.
Listen, I got a lot of comment around town. They said, oh, that was the nicest old family cooked ever heard for a long time.
Is that right?
They really liked it. We did some Sergio Mendes things. And, And it was very tasty. Did you wear Nehru jackets? Was that?
Probably.
He had one. Mommy had one. No, but I think it was especially appealing to the kind of people who watch telethons at 2 o'clock.
The same ones that watch QVC.
I'm glad that we got to do that together. And although I don't play professionally now, music still plays a big part in my life. And I still have the string bass we bought when I was 14 years old. I play it occasionally. Now that you're all grown up, I hope that you have no regrets and feel good about the things you've done. As with both you and Mom, I've always felt that you did the best you could given the time and the circumstances. Who could fault anyone for that? I love you and hope that the illnesses that you've had will pass quickly. Happy 50th anniversary.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Bob, and I'm an alcoholic. When Krista was giving her speech and talking about financial ruin, I was relieved that she didn't mention that I was a factor in their lives. But it rang true to me. I owe everything to Mom.
You're supposed to give that all up.
Oh, I've given it up many times. We'll just relive it one more time.
No, we won't. He's getting his white chip again.
Yes. Well, in 1952, Mom and Dad had an anniversary. October 17th, and 9 months later I was born. So, I'm appreciative that they planned for me and brought me into their lives. I've spent my whole life trying to follow Dad's example and try to be disciplined, try to be organized. I'm failing miserably at all the things he's good at. So it seemed like,
But you know
well,
what? You're awful good at what I'm good at. He's a lover and a helper. He helps lots of people and does lots of things.
hold on now, it's my speech.
It's okay, you're not organized.
Is that okay? Well, I feel better already.
These therapy groups are right.
I don't know. I've been the peacemaker. When I was the fourth, Mom used to call me a little peacemaker. And it seems like, true to form, I've spent my whole life trying to bring peace to others. Trying to be humble. I'll tell you, the mission to Japan was a lot of hard work. And I marvel at how the best kept secret in the church is what happens when you go on a mission. No young man knows before he goes. And with all the repair missionaries, you'd think that you'd know in advance what you were getting yourself into. But I don't think there's a conspiracy there. And every repair missionary comes home feeling they were the best years of his life. And I'm not exception. Wonderful growth experience. Get out in the world as a young college student and spend time knocking on doors, talking to people. And there's really no way to prepare for such things in life other than to throw yourself into it. And I had a mission president who said, mission work isn't so much bringing in new converts to the church, it's to strengthen and build those who are called to serve. And a lot of the trials I've had in life I look back at the missionary experience and how hard it was to get up every morning at 5 and to study the language and study the Bible. To get out and knock on that first door, it just took a lot of fortitude and gumption. Riding those bikes, boy, you wore the seat out in your suit pants before you could get it to the dry cleaner the first time. But as I reflect on life since then, and it's been 20 years, a lot of it, what it takes to get through business and get over hurdles and to push yourself into that envelope to grow are things that I learned while on my mission. There have been many times when I felt like giving up, that life was too overwhelming. And I'm glad that I have such wonderful parents who've been there for me. As time and time again I've turned to them for help. And all Mom has to do is say, if I could make it better, I would. And she's real good at saying that. I love her for that. Because just hearing it makes it better. And I'm grateful for Marlene and our life together. And that we can live close to Mom and Dad and share great times with them. I'm truly blessed in that we've been placed in Florida together. And yet they're here for me, and we're here for them. Dad and I have always had a special relationship. I don't know why, but he took a liking to me. And we've had our music together, and we had Indian guides together. Just short little glimpses in life where just precious times spent. And I'm grateful for that. Well, I'm looking forward to the future. It's been 7 years since Marguerite and Willard had their 50th wedding anniversary. And we were able to participate in their function. They have a great, wonderful family. I often lament that we haven't been able to spend more time with our cousins from that side of the family. But each and every time when I've had contact with the Dyes, I've been impressed. These are royal people. We should have you here. And before I close, I'd like to just thank Steph for kicking the ball and running with it. Seems like for the rest of us, we're so busy in our lives and tending to our families that we make light of the fact that we're all chiefs. But things weren't going to get done. God bless her, Steady.
We were all Indians instead of all chiefs.
Like Green rose to the top and took care of it on our behalf. And we were more than just money from our walnuts. We love you. We're so grateful that you're here. For all you've done. So, well, that's about it. I could think of 50 ways to tell my parents how I love them. And sometime I'll take that time. Share that with them. Thank you.
Going like this, that's what are you doing? I figure you didn't want to hang upside down.
Oh, she's hanging there, and I'm looking at her. I'm thinking she's going to undo that belt and fall right on her head. She doesn't know what she's doing. And then how am I going to get her out this window? And she says, well, open your door. Well, I don't open the door.
You couldn't open the door and I had to go through the window. And the strangest thing about that is I went right through like I weighed 100 pounds. I don't know to this day how I got through that window. But you do, I just did it. That was another exciting time. The policeman came. We were living in like a two-room hotel room with a great big Samoyed and Bobby. And no, I wasn't pregnant, was I? I looked pregnant. And the policeman said, you've got enough problems. He says, I'm not going to charge you. And he didn't give me a ticket or anything. They later put up a railing on that it was a ravine, and like this far from the side of the car, it went really down. If we'd gone, over that ravine, it would have been another story. Yes, it's your turn.
Taylor wants to sing Grammy and Grammy's song.
Oh, goody.
be able to express our love to each other, to our mom and dad. And I knew that this would be a really good bonding experience for us, because we need to remember the importance of one another, as well as the importance of our parents and what they mean in our lives, and not forget that. It's hard to express that and explain that to other people that don't have the history with them. And I just look at my aunt over here and I think, wow, what a lifetime I missed. Getting to know this wonderful woman, this incredible lady. I told her that, and she said, well, it's not too late. And Marguerite, this positive, still needs to be around. And I know that my children would be extremely neglected if they don't have the opportunity to get to know my family, to get to know my mom and dad. And Daddy, I just have always loved you with all my heart. I've always respected and admired you and appreciated your example of hard work and discipline, and I've gotten a lot better. Children, and stop playing. I am tired of kids. Go. I'm grateful for the encouragement that you gave me in pursuing my music and in helping my self-esteem through music and through that, the joy that has brought into my life. It's really added so much into my life. I'm so grateful for my mom for teaching me how to be a mom, how to love, and for showing so much love to me, giving me so much, being my best friend, taking such an interest in my life. I know I can tell my mom anything. She would love me. And I don't want to forget anything that I want to say, but I just want you both to know how grateful I am that you taught me about Jesus Christ and brought that into my home. Because above all, I know that our family will be forever. I'm grateful for you, and I have something that we're going to do for you. We have something we're going to give to you. But I'm going to sing a song to kind of light this up now. And I have to use the word. My baby's growing up. I'm going to be 30. Your youngest child is almost 30 years old.
And how old is your almost oldest?
Almost. That's old. That is older. That's what Christmas said. It was supposed to be next old. When your child's 30, you begin to realize he's not a baby anymore. It takes about that long, about 20 years before you're ready to think they're growing up. I know what I didn't say, and I don't want to lay in bed and think I should have said this, I should have said that. I was always the little one, and so I had to look at everybody else and see everybody else going to school and getting married and being successful. I love my brothers and sisters. I just always looked up to you guys and just always felt that my family, wow. My family was talented. My family was very intelligent, and my family had class. And I'm just proud of each one of you through your trials, through your strengths, through your weaknesses, through everything that you are. I'm proud of you, and I love you for who you are. And I'm proud to be a part of you. I just wanted to tell you all that.
Summer, I'm sorry I dumped you off the back of the MGA. Not the MGM, the MG, right? The MG.
I remember Bobby in
Texas sitting at the side of the pool, and he would see these girls in the bikinis, and he would whistle at them. And I was bound and determined my brother was going to whistle at me. And I was like 4 or 5, and Mom got me this bikini, and I went to the pool, and I would walk like this, so that he would look at me and whistle at me. And I just wanted to be a teenager. My wish came true. But I just always wanted to be a teenager and just wanted to be just like each one of you. I did. So if I can find this song, we can lighten it up here.
For those of you who don't know, she was sitting on the back of the MG.
I'll have to tell them later. This is for you. You'll like it. And I'm kind of a little bit hoarse, so let's see what this can sound like. Another bride, another groom, another sunny honeymoon, another reason, another season for making whoopee. A lot of shoes, a lot of rides. The groom is nervous. We share the same sweet loveness. Think what a year can bring. He's washing dishes and baby clothes. He's so ambitious. He even sews, but don't forget, folks, that's what you get, folks, for making whoopee. Everybody was supposed to practice this part, but we just didn't get around to it. Another year, or maybe less. What's this I hear? Well, can't you guess? She feels neglected, and he's suspected of making whoopee. She sits alone most every night. He doesn't phone. He doesn't write. He says he's busy. And who says, is he? He's making whoopee. Now this does not apply to you guys. He doesn't make much money. Only 5,000 per year. Some judge who thinks he's funny says you'll pay 6 to her. Now he says, Judge, suppose I fail. The judge says, fine, right in the jail. You better keep her, yeah, I think it's cheaper than making whoopee. Than making whoopee. Than making whoopee. We got a few of them too. But there's a few distinctions there. Phone books and they didn't burn.
Yes.
If you ever go anywhere, please practice in phone books.
Okay.
We, out in Utah, we had a forest fire, and we thought that we were going to have a house fire. so we started running around gathering things that were most important to us, and I gathered all my journals and baby books and things that are irreplaceable. And this is a gift from all of us. Let me just read something to you that I wrote. I wrote a poem, Aunt Marguerite. It's called Tapestry. You have woven a tapestry. The colors were beautiful, vivid, and bright. Other hues were as dark and as black as the night. But somehow, when woven together, the piece is full of light. And when each color comes together, it is pleasing to the sight. The threads create a beautiful tapestry of different talents, ideals, goals, and frames of reference. But what each thread contributes is a tribute to you, the weavers of the piece, who were hardworking and true. Woven throughout the work are beautiful elements of both of you. You began creating the tapestry with only a small idea of how great it would become, and you never really realized that your work would never be done. For each thread will continue long after you are gone, and the beauties you contributed will live on and on. So on this day, let's rejoice in your artistic creation and pay tribute to the artists who brought it to fruition. Your commitment to the tapestry has brought us together this day, and the priceless worth of our family is a debt we could never repay. I was the lucky one to be able to pick this book out because it just reminded me of different homes and different places you lived in the country in your life. And I asked each one of our siblings to contribute to it and all the grandchildren. And everybody has a piece that's in this, and Krista wrote that wonderful history of your lives, and this is something that I hope that you will cherish. I know that when I got each little piece from everybody, I just loved it. I just bawled, just reading what everybody had to contribute, and we all want you to know that you're very special people, that we appreciate your commitment to one another through the good and the bad. That's the way life is. And that we're grateful that you gave us the opportunity to be a family. We love you.
I always thought I ought to do something like this, and as the kids have kind of suggested, I'm not the most organized. I never got it done.
Everybody had an opportunity to write a personal message, and this is, you had to put, now John, what key is that in? I got it right! Yes! Doesn't it look like he's saying that there? That's in the key of C.
Oh, you found a couple of decent looking pictures. That's nice. Oh, look at that. Is that Grandpa? Yes. Who's that? Yes.
Well, you know what? If you don't do,
Oh,
if you get started on that book, we'll never hear from Aunt Susan.
This will be a long thing. And I forgot to tell you too, that I was going through a box of junk, and I found all these old letters from your dad, from your mother, from Aunt Sue. I mean, all these wonderful things that just ended up in my possession because I was the one doing the family history. And
but we went through Mother's
I put them in this contact paper so they won't yellow and red, that, so that we can all cash this. So that's the other part. Now we need to give everybody else who wants to have an opportunity to say something to Mom and Dad. Give Sue, we're so grateful that you could be here. Everybody, we want everyone to have a chance to say something. So, right up you go.
Well, I can sit here. Trying to decide what I really want to say. 50 years ago this week, I was a little girl, and I don't really remember the wedding much. But I remember Bill's parents coming, and we went to the Francis Slocum State Park, which is now all underwater. It was a beautiful fall day. The maples were in full bloom and golden. And I wasn't real sure exactly what all was going on. I just didn't quite understand. She was 4. I was 5. And my cousin was getting married, and I was in her wedding, and I thought that was pretty big stuff. And didn't quite know until later that my sister didn't want me in her wedding. Which I didn't know that. I was sure she'd found it up. So she didn't like that before us the next day. So that's my worst reflection. And I really didn't remember that Elaine, I remember Elaine staying with us a long time when Carol was here. But I really didn't remember that it was as long as it was, and that I didn't remember that she was with us as long, or they were with us as long as when Krista was born. But I remember both the girls being born. And my first time to babysit, Bill and Elaine wanted to go to Monticello and go dancing to a big name band, and I don't remember what the band. And so Elaine promised me that we could go over and go on the rides and go swimming, because my dad didn't like water, and so Mom and Dad never took me swimming. So they had decided they'd take me over, and we'd spend the day at Monticello in the lake, play in the water, and ride the rides and do all the things that my folks very rarely did with me. It was Elaine and Bill that always took me to fun things as a kid. And the deal was that I was then to stay with Carol in the car while they danced. Well, I was 7 or 8 years old. And we had this really nice day because this didn't turn out. It was a nice day that I remember being, and Carol went to sleep in the car, and I was supposed to go to sleep in the car, and they went in the dance hall, and a big thunderstorm rolled up, and I was scared. And I had to go get them off the dance floor and tell them I didn't want to stay in that car anymore. I was scared. I remember Elaine was quite peeled. Really quite angry. Well, then along came Carol, Krista and Bill and Bob. And really, was that who it was? Gee, if I'd only known that at 16, I would have changed the whole story, the whole thing. But I really felt that those 4 kids were my brothers and sisters. Yeah, I babysat with them every Sunday night, but it was great fun, and I got to watch television, which was a big deal. And when I was 16, they decided to move away, and that was really hard. Even though I was a kid that was a teenager and more interested in boys than about anything else. But they packed up and went to Philadelphia. That was a big deal, big Philadelphia. And I got to go with Elaine. It was the first time we flew on an airplane. And we flew to Pittsburgh, and then we caught the plane. We ran down the
I didn't play in Bill met us in Philly. And Mother had kept kids, and we went house hunting and bought this, I just looked at this most incredible house I ever saw in Philadelphia. And then we were driving home. Well, the reason I got to go was because I was to help drive home, and it was snowy. And Elaine got so angry, she kept saying, you can drive faster, you can drive faster. But she was letting me home to those poor kids and my mom.
We paid $17,500 for that. $17,500. And recently, the neighbor's house just like it sold for over $200,000.
Well, five of the six of us went back to that house not 5 years ago, and the same people that bought it from you were still in it. Same wallpaper, same rugs. Carol, I didn't remember anything, and Carol says, we were in the living room, and she says, no, in the kitchen, right around there, we used to have this ancient old, it didn't even work, dishwasher. And we walked in, she says, and there it is.
We had a crank handle in the center of the door.
It was bizarre. It was fun for us.
They were like out there if you thought he humiliated you at the yard.
There it is.
They raised 5 kids in that house and never changed a thing.
We were ready to have to go through the whole house
We
again.
thought it was time to paint
When we sold it.
It had that red brick linoleum on the floor. You know what that looks like. And I bought a tannish carpet, for the living room. It took 4 gallons of paint to do the paint in the living room.
4 gallons every 50 years isn't bad.
Per year.
But we kept needed doing, and Daddy was sick of that.
Oh, yeah, we've gone through that whole huge green house, just finished. Because now we gotta start doing the living room now because it's too old.
I think Billy mowed that grass with a
I started
push
walking
lawnmower.
it up, and I remember one time I rebelled. And I said I wasn't going to do it, and I was sent to my room, and I sat up there, and I looked out the window and saw Dad out there mowing it. And I thought, well, I'm in my room, but I'm not mowing it.
After I mowed it, I went over and bought a used power mower.
We moved away, I was 12, he would have been more than 10 when we left
We
there.
make him do it one time and he goes and buys a power one.
Oh, didn't that happen to you?
Yes.
As soon as you left, you started riding more?
Do you remember that Christmas tree we had? We decorated a Christmas tree and then went to Indiana. When we got back, there were no needles. No needles. And the ornaments around us.
But time passed, and I grew up in South Grade and had kids, and I was living in Indianapolis, and Elaine and Bill had moved to Burnsville, Minnesota, and my husband and I and the kids were going to take my brother, and was it Bob or was it Bill? One of you boys back up to Burnsville. You've been at Mom. And then John Kane, my husband, decided he couldn't go. And I was just in tears. And I just didn't know what I was going to do. Because I really wanted to go and see my sister. And I called Mom and I was crying. And Mom said she takes kids. So the 3 of us, and I don't remember which one of you boys it was. It was one of you. And John and I drove to Burnsville with Mother.
Brother John.
My brother John and one of you boys. I think it was you, Bob. And we drove up there in John's old Chevy. And,
Black one.
yeah. And I just thought this was the best time. Here I was with my brother, my sister, and I. And for you kids that have kids, you siblings who have kids right in line, you have to remember that I was 5 when Elaine was left home, and I was 10 when my brother was born. And so we've never really been a sibling family. We've never lived in the same home together. So it was really something to end up in Burnsville.
It still is. The 3 of us to get together.
But anyway, as I said, the 4 kids were really my brothers and sisters. because they were the ones that I really grew up with. Well, time passed again. Well, no, this was really before birthday, I guess. But anyway, I'll never forget the day that Elaine called Mother, and I was there in the kitchen, and Mom said, I gotta sit down. And I turned around and I said, Elaine's pregnant. And of course, I had just had my third child. And Mother says, oh, no.